friends, and welcome back. I'm so glad you're here with me today because this episode marks a very special milestone. We've made it to day 10 of the 100 Days Alliance Challenge. Now, I don't know about you, but the first 10 days of any journey always feels like the real test, right? You've got that initial excitement, that fresh of burst of energy, and then the reality starts to settle in. Maybe you felt something in your life, just like this when you start something new, the beginning is thrilling, but then the resistance creeps in, schedules get busy, and you have to decide, am I really committed to this? So today, this episode is our first check in together. It's a moment to pause, reflect, celebrate what's working, be honest about what's challenging, and set our intentions for the next stretch of this journey. And here's the thing, you do not have to be doing the 100 days challenge yourself to get something out of this episode. My hope is that by sharing my process, my reflection, and my lessons, you'll find pieces of your own story in mine and maybe some inspiration for what alignment looks like in your own daily life. So let's dive in. Before we dive in into the reflections from the first 10 days, I actually want to take a moment to share a little bit about who I am and why this challenge even matters to me. My name is Betty Arteaga Muriel, and I am the founder of Your Parenting Story LLC. I am a certified parent coach, a life coach, and most importantly, a mom of two incredible neurodivergent kids. But for my journey here, it wasn't easy or straightforward. A few years ago, I found myself in one of the toughest seasons of my life. My daughter had just stepped into her teen years. We had made a big move to a new state, and I was navigating my own untreated ADHD. The constant power struggles at home left me exhausted and defeated, and eventually I slipped into a deep depression. It was in this season that I realized something had to change, and not just for the kids, but for me. Then, through therapy, self compassion work, and a lot of reflection, I started healing. And as I healed, I realized I wasn't showing up with the same peace and compassion for my daughter as I was for my son. That awareness became a turning point. I decided to go study at the Jai Institute for Parenting, and what I learned there completely transformed the way I connected with my kids. My daughter even calls this period my healing era. And I just started showing up differently, not just as a mom, but in my relationship with my partner, with my own mom, in my work, and most importantly, with myself. And that's why I do the work that I do today, to help parents and women in transition to create their own healing era. Because parenting and life itself can sometimes feel like a full on chaos circus. And yet, with the right tools and support, you can find peace and alignment and connection even in the middle of the mess. And that's also why I started this 100 Days Challenge, to show you what it looks like to live this work out loud in real time, to let you see the ups and downs and the lessons so you know you're not alone in your own story. So, why 100 days? Why now? Well, for me, it came down to two things: Ac- accountability and alignment. Alignment for me means that the way I live my daily life actually matches the values I hold and the vision that I have for myself. It's not about chasing perfection or keeping up with this unrealistic idea of what my life should look like. It's about living in a way that feels true, true to my values, to my purpose, and the kind of mother, partner, coach, and woman that I want to be. But here's the thing, alignment doesn't just happen on its own. It's very easy to get pulled out of it. One busy week, one stressful season, and suddenly I'm running on autopilot, just surviving, not thriving. I've had times in my life where I felt completely disconnected from myself. And for example, when I was struggling with depression, or when I was caught up putting out fires for everyone else and I forgot what I needed. And when I'm out of alignment, everything feels heavier. My parenting, my relationships, even my energy. And that's where the accountability comes in. I knew that if I made this challenge public, if I committed to showing up for 100 days and bringing you along for the ride, I couldn't just quietly give up when things got hard. This challenge gives me the structure and consistency. It asked me to live out loud, not just to teach alignment to my clients, but to embody it every single day. And honestly, I also wanted to give you permission to see the whole journey, not just, the highlight reel. Because truth is, growth is messy. Some days I feel inspired, some days I don't. Some days I nail my morning routine. Other days, I just feel proud that I showed up at all. And that's what real transformation looks like. So, this 100 days challenge is about proving to myself that small, consistent steps matter. And it's also about giving you an honest look behind the scenes so you can see that you're not alone in the ups and downs of creating change. At the end of the day, this is my commitment to show up, to align, and to keep moving forward one day at a time. So let me break down what this 100 days challenge actually looks like. I didn't want it to just be like a vague idea of showing up more, being more consistent. I wanted to make it concrete, something I could measure, reflect on, and, grow through it. So here's what I'm tracking and working on every single day. First, my morning routine. This includes things like meditation, movement, journaling, self care practices that help me start the day grounded and intentional. Because I've learned that how I begin my day sets the tone for everything else. Second, my content and creativity. Every day, I'm showing up through writing, recording, or creating in some sort of way, whether it's a social media post, a podcast episode like this one, or developing material for my coaching. For me, creativity is about connection. It's how I reach you, how I share my message, and how I stay accountable to my mission. Third, I am taking action steps for my alignment and my health. For me, alignment isn't just a mindset, it's also in my body. So I'm paying attention to the food I eat, I'm tracking my calories and my macros. I'm also paying attention to my movement, to my rest, and how I manage my energy throughout the day. And finally, I'm also keeping track of my reflections and lessons learned. Every day, I'm asking myself, what worked? What didn't? Where did I feel most aligned? Where did I feel resistant? That way, this isn't just about checking boxes, it's about actually growing through the process. So, in short, this challenge is about consistency, alignment, and accountability. It's about proving to myself and hopefully showing you that transformation doesn't come from one big leap. It comes from the small daily steps we take over and over again. And here's the fun part. While I'm repeating those core habits every day, I'm also layering in new mini challenges every 10 days. That way, I'm staying consistent with the basics, but I'm also stretching myself in fresh ways so I don't plateau or lose momentum. ADHD here, I need something to keep me going. And one of the things that makes this 100 days challenge exciting is that I'm not just doing the same thing over and over for 100 days. Every 10 days, I'm going to layer in a new challenge. It's going to be something that pushes me a little further outside of my comfort zone while I'm also building on the foundation that I already created. So, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of what it looks like. For the first 1 through day 10, the focus was on consistency and nailing the basics. This meant tracking the essentials every single day, like journaling my food, my water, journaling, reading, drinking my supplements, my steps, my movement, and then main daily mindset practices. The goal was simple: start where I am and build the habit of showing up daily and create that strong foundation. It was about proving to myself that I can keep promises to myself even with the small things. Now, as we move into days 11 through 20, I'm adding something new: cold showers. Yep, every day I'll be taking a cold shower, and it's gonna start up small. I'm gonna start with just 30 seconds and then I'm gonna work my way up to 2 minutes. And I know it sounds uncomfortable, and that's exactly the point. The idea is to stretch myself outside of my comfort zone and to train my mind and my body to embrace discomfort as a pathway to growth. So each 10 days, every block gets its own theme, its own challenge, and its own reflection. That way, by the time we get to day 100, I haven't just done the same thing over and over again. I've actually layered in new practices that stretch me in different ways. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and even in my business. Right now, I'm celebrating that I made it through the first 10 days with consistency, and I'm gearing up for the next round where growth really begins. That's outside of my comfort zone. Now, I want to pause here and talk about something that really sits at the core of this whole journey: alignment. We hear that word a lot, right? Live aligned, stay aligned. But what does that actually mean? Alignment simply means that my choices, my habits, and the way I show up every day are in sync with the person that I want to become and the life that I want to create. When I'm in alignment, things flow. I feel grounded in my body. I feel clear in my mind, and I'm connected in my relationships. I make decisions with more confidence. I have more energy for my kids, for my partner, for my clients, for myself. When I'm out of alignment, everything feels heavy. I slip into survival mode. I'm reacting instead of creating. I lose patience more quickly. I get stuck in old patterns. And I end up feeling disconnected from the very things that I care about the most. That's why this challenge isn't just about checking boxes or doing random habits. It's about practicing alignment in real time so that when I say that I value peace and connection and growth, my daily actions reflect that. And alignment doesn't have to be complicated. It shows up in the little moments. It's about taking a deep breath before a meal instead of rushing through it. Maybe choosing to journal, when my mind feels cluttered. Saying no to something that drains me so I can say yes to something that matters more to me. Even something like that cold shower, it isn't about the water. It is about training myself to lean into discomfort instead of avoiding it. And that's alignment. It's living in a way that matches the vision I hold for myself and my life. And the more I practice it, the more natural it becomes. So the power of alignment is that it doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are becoming. And that to me is worth every bit of effort this 100 days will take. When I say alignment doesn't change what you do, it changes who you are becoming. This is what I mean. A lot of us think that transformation is about willpower and doing more things. We try to stack new habits, check off more boxes, and keep pushing and pushing. But if it only stays at the level of what we do, it doesn't stick. Eventually, we burn out or slip out back into the old pattern. But alignment goes deeper. When you consistently show up in ways that matches your values and your vision, you start to rewire your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's struggling to keep up, and you start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, who is intentional, who honors their own word. For example, when I journal every day, I'm not just writing words on paper. I'm becoming a person who prioritizes reflection and self awareness. When I take that cold shower, and I'm not just getting through the 60 seconds of discomfort, I'm becoming someone who chooses growth over comfort. Those little aligned actions are like votes for the future version of yourself. And over time, the accumulation of those votes shifts your identity. So become the parent who leads instead of react. You become the woman who honors her health, her energy, her dreams. You become the coach who embodies the work she teaches. So alignment isn't just about behavior modification, it's about identity transformation. And that's why this challenge matters so much to me. Because who I'm becoming at the end of this 100 days will be someone more grounded, more aligned, and more ready to serve. Not just because of what I did, but because of who I practice being day after day. So let's talk about what these first 10 days have actually looked like. I'll be honest, it hasn't been perfect. And that's the point, right? The first 10 days have been about finding my rhythm, noticing what works, and getting really honest about what needs to shift if I want to finish strong. And here are some of my biggest lessons I've learned so far. First, I've realized that I need to set myself up the night before. If I leave everything for the morning, I waste precious energy just figuring out what to do. But when I prep ahead, whether that's, laying my clothes out or writing a little to do list or setting up my journal space, I wake up ready to go. Second, I've learned that I need to plan my days more intentionally. It is so easy to let the day run me instead of me running the day. But, when I map out what matters most ahead of time, I stay aligned and consistent instead of getting lost in the distractions. And third, I'm starting to see that I might need to share like longer videos with you all and not just like the quick check ins because sometimes the richness of the journey gets lost in the short updates. And I want to bring you deeper into the behind the scenes of what alignment actually looks like day to day. And then another lesson, I need to start the day strong. When I lead the day with movement, like the steps and the water, everything else flows more smoothly. On the day that I skipped that, I felt sluggish and unmotivated. So strong sets the tone. And finally, I've noticed that I need check ins throughout the days. If I only set intentions in the morning and then I wait until the night to reflect, I miss opportunities to kind of like course correct in real time. And those little midday pauses are going to help me like realign before the day gets away from me. So yeah, these 10 days have been more about consistency, but they've also been about clarity. Clarity. I can already see where, the small shifts will make a big difference as I move forward. And I'm actually very grateful for the lessons because they're helping me refine how I show up for the rest of the challenge. So now that I've wrapped up the first 10 days, it's time to set intentions for the next stretch. And as I shared earlier, the new focus for the days 11 through 20 is cold showers. And I'll let me tell you that I am both nervous and excited. Yep, about this one. The idea is to start with 30 seconds and then work my way up to 2 minutes. So it's not really about the water, like I mentioned before. It's about training myself to lean into that discomfort instead of avoiding it. So every time I step into the cold shower, I'm reminding myself that growth happens when I stretch past what feels easy and familiar. My journal prompt for this blog is going to be, where in my life am I being called to stretch out of my comfort zone? And I already know, some answers are already starting to show up. On the more practical side of my intentions, are to, keep building on the basics, consistency with journaling, movement, hydration, mindset, and more reflection. To actually put into practice those lessons from the first 10 days. Like I mentioned before, prepping the night before, planning my days ahead, starting with the steps on the water early in and checking throughout the day, and to share more with you, and not just, some quick snapshots, but to go deeper in deeper reflections through maybe some podcast updates like this one, longer posts, and maybe even longer videos so you can really see the process and not just the highlight reels. For the next 10 days, it's about layering stronger foundations and to make it easier for me to keep building on routine. My hope is by day 20, I'm not only gonna be braver in the cold water, but that I'll also feel braver in the ways I'm putting myself out there. And here's where I'll love to bring you into this journey with me. This isn't just my challenge, it's something I want us to explore together, because the truth is that alignment looks different for everyone. And I'll love to hear your perspective. So I want to ask you, what has been resonating with you the most from these first 10 days? Where in your own life do you feel called to create more alignment? And what topics would you love for me to dive into during the challenge? Parenting, mindset, routines, maybe something else? I want this next stretch of the 100 days to really serve you. So your feedback means the world to me. You can DM me, comment, email me with your suggestions. I read every message and it helps me know what will support you the most. And if you've been listening and thinking, I wonder what it will be like to actually work with Betty, then this is your nudge. I love to invite you to book a curiosity call with me. It's a free call where we explore what's going on in your life, what you're hoping for, and whether or not coaching might be the right next step for you. There's no pressure, there's no string attached, just a safe space to get curious about what's possible for you. So, whether it's sending me your ideas for topics or hopping in on a curiosity call with me, I'll love to hear from you so you don't have to do this journey alone. So, as we wrap up today's check-in, let's take a quick breath together. We've made it through the first 10 days of the 100 Days Aligned Challenge. And along the way, I've shared a little bit of my story, why I started this journey, what alignment really means, the lessons that I've learned so far, and where I'm headed next. And here's what I want you to take away: alignment isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up day after day, making choices that reflect the person you want to become. It's about celebrating progress, learning from the messy parts, and staying committed to the bigger vision of your life. I want to thank you for being here with me, for listening, for supporting, for walking this journey alongside me. It means so much to know that I'm not doing this in isolation and that there's a community of people leaning into alignment right along with me. So here's, to the next 10 days, to cold showers, to consistency, to stepping outside of our comfort zones, and to growing into the people we are becoming. And remember, I love to hear your reflections and topic ideas. And if you're curious about coaching, my calendar is open for a free curiosity call. Until next time, thank you for being part of this journey. And I'll check again, soon. For now, keep taking those aligned steps one day at a time.